Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO Talk on generative AI, digital leadership, and so much more. My name is Michael Alf, calling from Lisbon, one of the three co-founders of Beyond the Obvious. We are working with clients around the world on those topics, and I'm here with one of the co-founders. Rob, over to you.
Yes, Michael, great to be with you again this week. Rob Thurner, partner in London, working with Cambridge Judge Business School and with clients on their transformation journeys. Wow, that list of things that we talk about is pretty long, but I think what we got to do in our short time today is we're going to keep this focused, guys. We're going to be looking at the tech update. Michael's got some news for us there. And then we're going to move on to a different subject, which I'm sure everyone listening to will relate to in one way or the other, which is why some are getting ahead and how, and even in the same industry, how others are going in the other direction or not moving as fast. So let's get kicked off, Michael, with the tech news. What have you got for us today?
Actually, I picked something interesting today, not a new model. We could talk about that as well. But you know probably, or you heard of OpenClaw or one of the other names, this autonomous agent, which goes around. And Peter Steinberger is the kind of founder of that, who created that. And in an interview, he actually said he was watching his own bot or agent ticking the box, I am human, on a screen. This is really, really interesting. And it is not because it was instructed, but it has some sense of, I'm not saying consciousness, but it says, okay, I have to click, I am human here to move forward. Yeah, so this is kind of, there's a logic in there, there's some level of intelligence there. But it's not necessarily consciousness. Yeah, so we have this discussion and it's blurred because it's really hard to tell what makes actually consciousness and what makes it play the game, if you like. Yeah, so I wanted to share this as a not real tech update, but it shows actually where we are heading with the agents. So that's kind of on this side. Then we promised last time that we complete our orbit framework on hybrid leadership. Rob, do you want to start with three letters just briefly where we left off last time?
Yeah, so when we spoke last time, we covered the first three. So this is the O for orientation, knowing that where we're going and we're all on the same page and we've got a clear direction. The R is about who does what. So how do we do this? Responsibilities and accountabilities. So who within the organization and how do we delineate different roles? And then the R is about bridging. So this is bridging between the humans and the agents. And what is that process for making sure that we're carving out and we're effectively creating those hybrid workflows? And that takes us over to the I and the T. So Michael, fill in the gaps for us here.
Thank you, Rob. Wonderful, very sharp and short overview. Great, well done. So now we have the I, which is integration. So now we are clear where we're heading, what the governance looks like, and what we need to connect. Now we actually need to integrate that into our work, into our organization. So that's the I. And then the T is on traction. Of course, we then need to kind of measure in a new way traction, which we are getting out of this hybrid leadership. So this is the orbit framework. It's very high level for now. If that sounds interesting and if you want to hear more, please reach out. Yeah, we can set up sessions with you, workshops with you, because there's a lot more depth behind that. You can also read that in the upcoming book. So that's kind of completing from last time. Now over to the next topic, Rob, and you already kind of hinted what we're talking about. Guide us through kind of why are some ahead and some stay behind, even in the same industry?
Well, I think it goes right back to the beginning of the Orbit acronym about orientation and being clear that the whole organization understands the mission, where we're going and how we're using AI to build efficiency and improve our performance. And if you consider that there is an understanding at the C level about how we should, which use cases we should be tackling in what priority order, and we're then giving permission to people around the organization about how to do then we're removing a major bottleneck that gets in the way. So an example, and we both spotted this LinkedIn post, within the same industry, in the legal services organizations, there are some who are figuring out how to streamline processes, how to go through significant volumes of contracts where there's a lot of very detailed text-based activity, and use AI effectively to streamline and to make decisions and to do that quickly without the huge risks that are incumbent on law firms in making mistakes like that. So being very clear about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and empowering the teams to use the right tools to streamline different parts of the process. That's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, the bottlenecks. So these are the organizations who say, ooh, this looks risky. This looks like an area where we need to be checking every single stage in the process, and everything needs to come through for an approval process, a committee, which of course is going to slow down the opportunity to streamline, but also build culturally resistance in a sense that actually the answer is no, rather than being very clear where can we green light, accelerate without the need to put those blockers in place. So anything with high levels of regulation, we're talking about law firms, pharmaceutical, financial services, there is a risk unless there's that clear orientation, Michael, that those roadblocks are put in place, which will slow down and widen the gap between those who are moving far ahead now and those who are being left behind. What are your reflections?
Thank you, Rob. What I really liked is that you linked it back to our Orbit framework. Yeah, so you see that in action working. And I want to continue on that path and move actually to the R, responsibilities, accountabilities, and governance. And this is a key aspect. If you want to move forward, you have to think about that. How do you address privacy questions, ethical questions, and so on? But you need to balance that out. Yeah, so therefore you need the clarity, the O, and then you need to kind of build those frameworks, harnesses, to actually make it work. And then you can move forward. One of the biggest things I see is these, let's say, concerns and questions, especially around privacy, where they say, well, it's all too risky. Saying, but not knowing actually what really goes on. Yeah, so I think there's still a lot of lack of kind of knowledge and understanding what really goes on to properly assess the risks. And clearly, the fact that a competitor in the industry does much more with it indicates and shows there is a way forward. Do we recommend that you jump full in? No, of course not. That's why we created the Orbit framework. That you have a framework to walk through and consider each aspects. But it's also to avoid the biggest, let's say, trap or risk that you are moving too slow. And you are clearly falling behind. Because it's not only that you don't have things which your competitor has, so there's a gap. There's also a knowledge and experience gap. We see that from own work. I mean, we're doing AI every day, all day, pretty much. So kind of the more you practice and the more you work with it, the better you get. And if you don't allow that, if you don't have kind of these initiatives, you're not gathering the relevant information and experience. And this is a high risk thing. Yes, there might not be an immediate ROI, but you have to build up this muscle. Yeah. And it's a big muscle to train, actually. And I think that's a key aspect, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, so I think that's right. It's a muscle. You could describe it also as a mindset and behavior shift. And behavior shift. So we were in Doha and looking at what are the top tips that we should be bringing into our business. And I loved your comment. You said one top tip is, in every meeting, we should be spending time thinking, what can AI do to solve this challenge? What can we be doing with an expectation that not everything you do is going to work? I mean, that is the whole process. That's the whole way that we learn here. It's iterative. But we need to be in that mindset that there is a way of improving what we're doing, even just things that don't work, but the experimentation, the act of trying new things out, learning and doing that as a collective, whether you have a big breakthrough or not, at least you're in that mindset and making those changes. And of course, when you multiply this up, and we've got more and more of our colleagues involved, and we're communicating clearly what's working and what's not working, that's how that muscle, that big muscle you described, is exercised and improved.
Yeah, absolutely. I would actually pick up on the muscle just to continue this picture. So when you go into a gym, and you want to become stronger, and let's say you try to lift, let's say 70 kilos, on a bar, and you fail, you're not even lifting it. Are you stopping then going to the gym? No, of course not. You're saying, well, this clearly was too much. Now I have to go back down to, let's say, 50 kilos and start there, and do that. And maybe you only kind of manage one lift, or two, and then you say, oh, I failed. So I never go back to the gym because the gym doesn't work. The weights don't work. So not for me. I'm not building any muscles here because it just doesn't work. So this is this. Isn't it?
That's
exactly
right.
It.
And I think you could take that analogy a little further in two ways. It's about repetition and regularly. Often and little is better than infrequently and a lot. You're more likely to damage yourself in a physiological sense. So more often, and also not doing it on your own, doing with others. So that sense that if you're going to be training for that marathon, you're more likely to go through the full training program together than if you just try and do it on your own. So I think those two, so little and often, not solo, and also with an expectation not everything's going to work, but we do nonetheless need to keep going, keep persevering. And
beautiful.
I think we can't go any further with that analogy.
No, that's right. But I think the audience, I think, got it now. And tying it briefly back before kind of, Rob, you can do the wrap up. This shows kind of, this is all in the R of Orbit. This is responsibilities. This is accountabilities. So that from the top, from the CEO needs to own that topic. I've no doubts about that. It has to be owned by the CEO. But then instilling exactly kind of this gym exercises, this kind of combine, this exchange, if that needs to be lived from the top in combination with a bottom-up approach, because you have a lot of young people who are used to using ChatGPT and Gemini and all the other tools out there, and are already kind of on this path a lot further than, let's say, kind of the middle and senior management quite often. So I think this kind of ties into the Orbit. I hope you see how this kind of comes to life, with what we are sharing here in examples. Rob.
Yeah, so Michael, that's an interesting chat. Thanks as ever for sharing your insights there, and the beginning of the chat was particularly interesting also. Now, above my head, where do you see a QR code? Please use that QR code to join our community. We'd love to get your input to help us inform these conversations, but also all the other activities that we're involved in, whether it's the simulations or the development of this hybrid leadership concept. Head over to YouTube. You're going to see now quite a significant library of sessions like this and some of the other stuff that we're putting out there on YouTube. So take a look on there and let us know, give us your feedback. If there's any topics you want us to cover in future, it'd be good to hear from you. And with that, we're busy writing. We've got the book we're creating at the moment. We will be joined next week by Marcus, who can't, unfortunately, be with us this week. And with that, I'll wish you all a good rest of your week, wherever you are in the world. Keep safe if you're in the Middle East, of course. And we'll look forward to catching you next week. And with that, goodbye for now.